Good morning, good morning, good morning. Come on in, come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Amazing Real Ruby's ABCs of Finance moment. Happy Tuesday to you. You know, I'm getting my fan in case I have these hot flashes. So, just to be on the safe side, right? So, I hope that your week is off to a wonderful start. I'll be checking multiple platforms as we're going through out here. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. My name is Mika McLendon, and I am the founder and CEO of Amazing Real Rubies. And we are a women's organization that's designed to encourage women to become the woman God created them to be. So as we begin this journey and we begin our diffusion process, and that's where we kind of practice all these Ruby traits in our diffusion process devotional journal. We practice these traits about how we can become and be a better woman, that Proverbs 31 woman. And as we begin to do that over the years, one of the things that we really found that individuals were struggling with was their finances. And so God laid it on my heart to begin what we call our ABCs of Finances. This is our second book. This is a workbook that goes hand in hand with our ABCs of Finance class. And it's all about helping individuals learn how to attain debt-free status, budget down to zero, and create cash flow. Because in doing this women's organization and having events and platforms and things where people could come out to a conference, learn how to be this virtuous woman, learn more spiritual, mental wellness, business, financial, relationship, and fun type things, because those are our pillars, right? Learning how to really walk in those particular areas and become, we really found people were struggling with paying a $25 ticket to come to an event. So it's like last day. And then we get all these people that want to sign up. And God didn't create us to live in lack like that. So in that, the ABCs of Finance was birth. And so the ABCs of Finance moment, which is kind of like a prelude to our ABCs of Finance class, right? This moment is all about providing tips and nuggets that enhance our financial literacy one step at a time, right? Because where we are financially, good, bad, or ugly, we did not get there overnight. It took time. It was a process for us to get into the financial situation we're in, whether we are good with where we are or we're not good with where we are. So this particular segment is all about just providing some tips and nuggets that's going to help us become, right, better with our finances. And so part of what God gave us around this is what we call lamps. It's Psalms 119, 105, which basically we believe God is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. And so we believe in following this acronym to help us enhance financial literacy. The L is for knowledge. The L is for literacy. Understanding, learning, getting that knowledge, getting that skill. But if you've been to any of my classes or you followed me on social media, you know that I don't just stop at knowledge is power. I believe applied knowledge is power. If we don't apply it, then what's the point? As Miles Monroe said, the wealthiest place in the world is the graveyard, because so many people died with all the information up here. Never wrote the book, right? Never put on the conference, never did the webinar, whatever God laid in their hearts to do. And then the A is for accountability. This is where we look to be a good steward over everything that God has trusted us with. Are we being a good steward over our money, right? And then there's management. Are we managing our money appropriately, allocating it appropriately, making proper decisions, getting a proper return on our investment, ROI? Are we doing that when it comes down to our money, right? And then there's the P for planning. Planning is controlling our income and our expenses, our savings and our investments. Are we controlling those things? Yes, we have control over them. We have control over what we do with our money and when we're going to do it and how we're going to do it, how much we're going to save, how much we're going to invest, what we are investing in. Well, here comes my hot flash. So we're going to go ahead and get that fan going. All right. Then there is the S for stability, right? This is where we have solid financial foundations that's going to help us build upon our finances, where we can begin to have and build financial wealth and build legacy. That's what it's all about. And we're not talking about all material here. When I say finances, some of it is the knowledge that we pass on. We may not be able to see where we own 20 acres and we have a community of homes on it for our family. We may not live to see that, but that doesn't mean we can't start the foundation to building that for our family. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on what, this hot flash is wearing me out. Let's get started on what we're going to talk about today. Today, I want to talk about inflation. This is a big one, guys. This is a big one with where we are right now. So much has changed from 2020 to 2022. A lot has changed when we talk about inflation. So what is it? What is inflation? Inflation is basically a decrease in purchasing power and an increase in pricing. So what do I mean by that? Let me give you some examples. So we all know when the pandemic hit in 2020, we begin to see, for example, that toilet tissue was nowhere to be found. Everybody was on social media talking about toilet paper, right? Couldn't find toilet paper, right? So the demand for toilet paper was there, right? The demand for toilet paper was there. And because that demand was there, the price of toilet paper began to go up. So that's your increase in pricing because it's a demand for it, right? We have more people looking for it right now than normally at this time based on historical data, right? So I'm using something simple, toilet paper, right? So the demand for this toilet paper began to skyrocket. And as the demand skyrocketed, the pricing went up. Now, what that meant when the pricing went up, it decreased our purchasing power. So how did it decrease our purchasing power? Let me give you an example. So in 2018, if you had $100, at this particular time, we were kind of in what the opposite of inflation is deflation. So in 2018, if you had $100, you could go out and spend that $100 and basically get $97 worth of stuff for $100. So that meant you were paying less than what it was worth on average. So $100 went a lot further. So now fast forward to 2020. So 2020, you go out with that same $100 and to buy those same products that cost you $97 in 2018. And now instead of $100, you need $103 because your purchasing power decreased. Now, fast forward to 2022 right now. You go out with that same $100. You got me? That same $100. And now, in order to get what you can get in 2018 for $97, you use this $100, you need to add $15 more to it to get the same products that you were getting in 2018 for $97. So your purchasing power has decreased. That same $100 doesn't buy what it used to buy. And your purchasing power decreased because the demand for the product went up. So I'm hoping that's making sense to you. The demand for the product went up. So what kind of formula is that? That's called a demand pull and a cost push. These are the two main reasons that we see inflation. The demand went up and the cost production went up. So what do I mean by cost production? So cost production is basically how much does it cost me now to make this product, right? So here's something everybody can relate to, or most of us can relate to, right? Let's talk about groceries overall. So when 2022, by the time we got to 2020 and 2022, we've seen groceries skyrocket in prices, right? Because the supply chain broke. I don't know if you all remember when on the news, they would talk about all these boats and ships and things sitting out in the water in California with all of our products on it, right? All of these things we needed in the grocery store, but they couldn't get the ships in, right? So what happened is you didn't have enough workers. So people weren't there to, and the machines and things that they needed, we didn't have people to operate them to get the stuff off the boat, get it in so we can get it shipped, trucks get rolling, get it to the grocery stores where we need it, right? So what began to happen is the price to produce these things also began to increase, because now I need to hire workers. I need to have more people here to help me do A, B, C, D. So the cost production increased, right? So now we have a demand pull, because I need this toilet paper, I need this toilet paper, I need this toilet paper, right? And then we had the cost push up because that demand was out there. Now it's costing me more to make it, or I'm needing to make more faster because of that demand. So my cost goes up. Another one you can look at is housing. Right now, if you are in the housing market, you're feeling some pain. And I mean from a standpoint of purchasing. So example there, a $200,000 house now cost about $300,000 or $350,000. Why? Because the housing market is being flooded. People want to buy. So the demand for the housing market is there. Then you have to go to the side of the production, building it, the materials that you need to build a house. The cost of the materials have gone up because the demand for housing is there. So now a $200,000 house is costing a $350,000 for that house. And what I used to be able to take $250,000 to build a house is now costing me as a builder $300,000 to build that house. So I'm passing that cost on to the customer, because my cost for my products that I need to build it went up. And when that cost went up because of the demand, right, my pricing goes up. So I'm hoping that's helping some of us right there truly understand how this inflation thing works, right? And here's the thing. What's the root cause of it, you say? Because it can't just always be, Mika, that people are out demanding toilet tissue and all of a sudden it just goes up. So what's the root cause of it? Well, here's the thing with the root cause of why inflation exists. It's because of an increase of money supply. So basically what that means is money is flooded into the economy, right? So that money comes into the economy, we get the money and we go and we spend it. And normally they're able to identify what we're spending it on. So the pandemic was around groceries, was around, like we said, toilet tissue, necessities that people needed. So the money flooded in, right? Which when we do that, it devalues your dollar because you have more money than product. So they begin to raise the prices of product so they can kind of balance this thing out some. So money's flooded in, the money supply, and money supply is flooded in through either printing more money or giving away money. So either printing more money, and one thing we can relate to on the giving away money is stimulus. You can relate to that. The issue around the stimulus wasn't that we didn't need it to help those who were in need, right? Because 2020 was a pandemic. People needed some help. People weren't able to pay their bills, right? So you had people in need, but I'm sure most of us, like myself, we know people who were making six figures that got a stimulus check. Why are we doing that? That's extra money being flooded in that devalues our dollar that we did not need. So it's a critical balance there when it comes down to inflation and deflation. There's a critical balance there. And so how do we begin to get ahead of this, right? So we understand what inflation is. We understand how it can happen now, right? We understand the demand pull and the cost push. But how do we begin to get ahead of this thing? How do we get in front of inflation? Because here's the thing. Inflation can be good or bad depending upon where you are. If you are an investor, this is great for you. That's why we've got to get to where we're owning and we're not renting. And sadly, our economy is moving towards where it's going to be easier for people to rent and pay house note money than to own. We have new constructions down the street from our home, like 5-6 miles from where I live. New constructions going up, and the signs out front says available to rent/lease, not own, rent or lease, right? So for investors, inflation is good. This is why we got to get to where we're owning some things, guys. This is why we need to understand 401ks and understand stocks and bonds. This is why we need to begin to understand mutual funds and what it can do for us, because when inflation hits like this, those things can be offsetting for you. So where it may cost you now what used to buy $100 used to buy, you now need $115 to buy those same products. If you're offsetting that with your assets, like one of the commodities is gold. People talk about, hey, owning some gold is a good thing, right? If you have some assets to offset what's happening on the day-to-day inflation, come on now, that's how you begin to beat some of it. So what are my tips for you on that today? Number one, you got to plan for inflation. Why? It's going to happen, period. It's been happening all of our lives. Everything increases. If you look at a cup of coffee in 1970, I think a cup of coffee in 1970 was like 59 cents or something like that. Come on to 2022. A cup of coffee. And I'm not even going to go Starbucks. Come on, y'all. I'm not even going to go that way. I'm just going to say like Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, or out of a quick trip, $2 and something, maybe $3 for that same cup of coffee. That's because inflation is automatically going to happen. But what we're experiencing right now is where the money supply has increased too much into the market. The demand is there. The supply chain's broken. So prices are being driven up. Right now, our cost of living average from 2020 to 2022 is like over 5%. And normally we're looking at a 2% increase, right? But now this is where we've got to begin to plan for it. The dollar is losing value right now. I used to be able to use $97 and get $100 worth of stuff when it was in quote unquote deflation, or the dollar was more valuable, right? But now in 2022, that same $100 bill is not going to get me the same $100 worth of products I got then. I got to add $115 to get that. That's like saying my $100 is really $85 because I'm adding $15 to get the same thing. That is pretty bad. So we got to plan for it. How do we begin to plan for it? So the first thing is you got to just stop going out doing willy-nilly spending, because we're part of the problem to the demand. Now, of course, Amazing Real Rubies is a Christian-based organization, so we believe in being prepared. We believe in when they say it's going to snow. And if you've heard me talk about Proverbs 31 woman, and you've heard me teach that class, you've heard me talk about she's not afraid of the snow because she's prepared everything for her household. So when they say it's going to snow here or ice storm, we're not the ones running to the store trying to buy bread and milk and eggs. Why? Because we have already prepared our household. And maybe we don't have everything we want, but we have enough to weather the storm. So part of getting this under control is to stop running out just spending. We've got to, again, tell our money where we want it to go. That P, planning your income, planning your expenses. You got to tell your money where you want it to go, not just go out there willy-nilly spending it. Okay. So here's some deeper tips for you. I would suggest you examine your spending habits. This is really important. Look at different things that you can abate. For example, travel, entertainment, even your grocery bills. And I know groceries are higher, but let me give you a tip on what you can do there with your groceries. And this is something that my husband gave me, and I thought, oh my God, this is really, really good. I need to tell people this. So when it comes down to groceries, I know bills are up high. Grocery bills are higher, it seems, when you go into the grocery store. But he was like, well, babe, why don't you look and see what we have in the freezer first? So I have a deep freezer, and then I have a freezer in my kitchen, like everybody else, right? And so I went through my deep freezer, and I went through everything in my freezer in my kitchen, and I wrote it out. So I knew that I had 16 chicken legs. I had, 4 pork chops, or I had 2 pounds of ground beef, whatever it is. I wrote it all out. So here's the thing. When I went to the grocery store, it was a little bit different in the meat department, right? Because I wasn't just picking up meat just because it was on sale. If I didn't need it and I had enough at home and I had my home covered, I didn't need to, I don't care if it was $4. It was $4 I didn't need to spend. So take an inventory. Examine your spending habits. Take an inventory of your groceries in your, well, not groceries, your food in your house before you go to the grocery store. Here's another thing. Set a limit. I know that inflation is there, but remember, we get to tell our money where to go. You don't just buy it and spend because it's there. Do you need it? Assess what you have at home and set a limit. Yes, it's just my husband and I. So here's what I do. Number one, I have Amazon. And so because I have Amazon, I have Prime, and I have the Amazon grocery delivery, right? Well, on the Amazon grocery delivery, if I spend $35, I can get my groceries delivered for free. So once a week, I go in on Amazon and I purchase things up to $35 that I need. So like I was on there this morning going in, looking at some different things, because again, I only order once a week, looking at some things, trying to catch some sales, etc. So I know that I'm going to spend $140, and sometimes it's a little bit more, right? So let's just say $150 to make it a rounder number. $150 on Amazon every month buying my groceries. So I know that's a $150 grocery bill. Now, if I go to Kroger or Publix, then I have a set amount. I refuse for two people that we're spending $300 and $400 a month on groceries. I just can't. My mind can't. I can't process that. So if I'm spending $150 on Amazon, I'm limiting myself to $100 in the grocery store. So $250 a month is what I would spend on groceries for my husband and I, or less. Because again, I'm going to assess what's in my fridge before I go, and then check your pantry as well. So when you start assessing that and you're examining where you're spending, you can control some of that inflation. The other one is gas in your car. Yes, the prices of gas went up. I get it. I got it. I know it costs more for us to drive from point A to point B. But part of what I do there is I have a route. I plan my route when I leave the house. I don't leave the house every day of the week if I don't have to. I don't just run out and run here and run there. I plan it out. So for example, I know tomorrow I have to go get my hair done. I'm getting my hair fixed at 8:30 in the morning. So tomorrow I know I have to pass the bank. So I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to go ahead. I have about half a tank in my car. I'm going to go ahead and fill that up. I don't go over $50 a week in my car. I'm not doing it because I get to plan my route. So $200 a month in gas in my car is what I do. So I'm going to go ahead and fill my car back up, right? I have to go to the dry cleaners. I'm going to pass that. And I need to go to like Sam's and run a couple of other errands. So what I do is write all those errands out and I map them so that I can take the shortest route of how to get these things done and save gas. So like today, I'm not going anywhere. I don't need to run out for anything today. I'm going to do all of that tomorrow. So I'm going to plan that for where I'm going to spend my money. Examine your spending habits. Groceries and where you're driving to and things like that is just two that I can, tell you and give you to do. Here's another thing. Develop a budget and reassess your bills. I know everybody thinks that the budget is a bad word. I know. Somebody said, good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining. I know that budgeting is a bad word. Nobody likes the budget, but I'm here to tell you, you need to budget your money. Because all we're doing right now is, they say it costs. They say it went up. They say I have to spend. And so that's what I do. No, what do you say? What do you say around that? So develop a budget, reassess your bills. What's a bill, for example? In my ABCs of Finance class, I was given an example about some things that my husband and I do to be in control of our money. And so one of them, when we purchased our home, we called Georgia Power and said, well, how much is the average Georgia Power bill for this house? And so they told us. And when we heard it, we were like, oh, no, we're not trying to pay that every month to Georgia Power. That's too much. And so one of the things that we do is we look more so for contentment versus extreme comfort in our home. What do I mean by that? I can be in my house and I'm good at 73 or 74 degrees. I'm good. Now, I would love and be more comfortable at about 68, 69 because I'm having these hot flashes, right? So I would love and be more comfortable with keeping my thermostat at 68, 69. But I refuse to pay them that type of money. So I'm in a contentment status. And when I do have that hot flash, I get me a little hand fan, or I do have the stand-up fans. I'll turn it on for a minute. It's on 5 or 10 minutes. I turn it off. And we have been able to keep our bills between 25 to 40 something percent less than what the original monthly bills were from the people we bought our house from. So that's a way. Assess your bills. Look at some ways where you can cut some corners. And for me, that's just one of them. I don't know what one would be for you, but that's just a thought. You don't have to be in your house at 68 degrees. You don't. We would like to. It's more comfortable for us women, in our prime, right? It's more comfortable, but you don't have to. So look at some ways where you can actually cut some of those particular bills down. Reassess your bills and develop a budget. Yes, develop a budget. Budget down to zeros. Check your grocery bills. Check them. Look at what you have in your house before you go to the grocery store, because inflation, again, it's not going to stop. So you got to look at, what do I need to do to get in front of this thing? And knowing that it's going to keep going, that's why you should always assess your bills at least every 6 months. Sit down, assess it, look at where you can cut out some different things. And then the other side of that is, if you're at a position where you have extra cash, you're at financial stability, financial independence, and I will more so say financial independence, that's stability. You're at financial independence. Look at some different things that you can begin to do to add to your assets to offset inflation. Whether commodities, gold, metal, stocks, bonds, real estate, looking at different things that you can invest in that's going to give you a return on investment. And you're looking for your return on investment to be higher than the inflation, right? So if your return on investment, let's say you got a bond, a treasury bond, and I don't even know the rates on those, but so I'm going to make something up here. And let's just say the return rate on a treasury bond is 2%. Well, if it's giving you a 2% rate of return, but inflation is at 5% over the last 2 years, that's not really offsetting it for you, right? You need to be looking at and investing in things that's going to offset that cost. And this is another reason, guys, why it's so important to be debt-free. Because when inflation hits like it's hitting right now, you don't want 20, 30% of your money going towards credit cards and personal loans and things of that sort. You don't want 20, 30% of your money going over there. You need to have that money so you can, again, it can help you offset. You can use it to offset some of the things that's happening with inflation. Okay, so as always, of course, we pray that our information is always beneficial to you. Thank you so much for joining today. You can visit us at www.amazingwarerubies.com. We have our next ABCs of Finance class, and this is the workbook to go with it. Next ABCs of Finance class is going to be in June. It's going to be a Saturday class. It's going to be every Saturday in June from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Investment is $125 for the class, and the book is $15. This book is online. You can purchase it at our website for $15. Now, I will tell you, everyone that's taken the class so far, and I have a class right now that I'm doing on Thursdays this month of May that's already started. Everybody wants the workbook because this workbook follows along with the class. And we're, again, guys, we're talking about basically $140 investment to enhance your financial literacy, getting some good information and walking away with knowledge, tips, and tools that you can apply. Because again, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power that you can apply to where you are today. And it's not about understanding all the big things. Trust me, even down to what I'm talking about today, inflation. I don't understand everything about it, but I do know the basics. Demand increased. Prices went up. My money buys less. My buying power has decreased. So understanding that, we need to know how we can offset some things, what we can do. You have control of your money. We don't just have to buy a gallon of milk for $4 just because they said inflation increased. Like right now, so many individuals are talking about they can't find formula, right? There's that demand. Come on. There's that demand. So what do you think is going to happen with baby formula? Doop, 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 doop. That's what's about to happen to the price because the demand has increased, right? The supply chain is broken. Can't get the milk in fast enough. So now the demand for it is going up. So we're going to jack up the price more, right? Because we need more people to produce it. We need more this or that, or more workers in the factories, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to pass that cost on to you. So now baby milk is going to cost you more, right? But I'm here to tell you something. My daughters, my babies, they grew up on pet milk, P-E-T, canned carnation milk. Add water, put a little molasses syrup in there, baby. It was real good. I'm just saying, you got to look at some alternatives of what you can do and how with your money. Remember, begin to be right where you are. And if you're not where you can afford to do all those things and just pay all that extra money without worrying about the consequences of spending that money, assess where you are and begin to be right there. We teach a lot of that in our ABCs of Finance class. I hope to see you there for the June class. Again, it's every Saturday in June, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I know I've gone over a little bit on my time today. I want to thank you guys for being patient with me. Thank you so much for attending. We appreciate your support. Oh, also, we will be starting our Amazing Rare Rubies Becoming Proverbs 31 moment. So we have the ABCs of Finance moment on Tuesdays at 10. We're going to have the Becoming Proverbs 31 woman moment. And that's where we're going to be going through these traits. And we're going to be talking about how we can become and how we can be better in these, especially during the times that we're in right now. We're going to be starting those probably within the next week or two. So watch out on social media so you can see the postings, and there'll be 30-minute segments as well. So we look forward to seeing you there on your journey to becoming not just financially, but also becoming the woman God created you to be. And of course, keep God in every decision made, every lesson learned, and every message taught. And until we meet again, make sure you make it a Ruby day. Thanks for joining. Have a blessed one.